thoughtful ideas and suggestions for guests and topics.
Events, programs, and practices. All the practices are listening.
Good evening and welcome to this week's segment of Dialogue Houston. I'm your host, Laurence Payne. To our regular viewing audience, welcome. To those joining us perhaps for the first time here for ACC's TV Dialogue Houston, we're here now every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 a.m. and again at 6 p.m. Saturday afternoons at 3 p.m. We also can be found now on the Cube, channel 57, on Saturday mornings at 6:30 a.m. As always, at the top of the hour, let me thank you for your thoughtful calls, emails, and text messages about previous shows we've had here on Dialogue Houston, and your very thoughtful guests and ideas for topics and subjects to be covered on upcoming segments of Dialogue Houston. After all, this is your community affairs, public affairs show. I got to say a special thanks to those of you who noticed that there was something different in my appearance on the last couple of shows. With the sunshades, the eye is much better. I appreciate your thoughtful calls and emails and text messages about that. We are getting there. We're not quite there yet, but the vision is coming back in the left eye. So I thank you for that. We have a great show planned for you today. It is really a fascinating journey and story, one that you will really love. It is one that has really touched my heart and others who have heard part of it and will hear more of it at an event we'll be talking about in August. But I wanted you to meet and know the young person and the young lady involved. I wanted you to get a close-up and personal kind of conversation with her so you can listen to the story and the journey. It is a fascinating one. It is one that allows us to see the humanity in all of us and allows us to understand how we need to connect with each other, interconnectedness, interrelatedness, interdependency on each other. My guest this week is none other than Lereca Monik, who is this current 2016 Miss Texas America 2016. Welcome.
Hi,
How are you, my dear?
I'm good. How are you? I'm well.
Great to have you here. And, you know, as we've talked before we started taping in the last few weeks, it is quite a story and quite a journey to be now Ms. That's MS, y'all, Miss Texas America 2016.
Yes, it has been an amazing journey.
So tell us about the journey.
Well, where do you want me to start?
Let's start with, I think you said January 2016 is a good starting point.
Okay, we'll start January 2016. If someone would have told me that I would be the Miss Texas America 2016, I would have said no. But just like many people at the beginning of the year, when we start to think about our goals, many of us are building dream boards. Mm-hmm. And so I had this season of, or a day of building my dream board, and I kept hearing, "You reign." And at the time, I didn't know what it meant. And I said, okay, God, what does you reign mean? What does reign mean? And I associated it with being a queen. And I said, well, if I am a queen,
No, a very good concept, good, healthy, positive concept, yes.
Then help me become one, whatever this means. And so I just carried on. And I'm going to actually take you to January 24th when it all became very real to me. January 24th, it was my mother's birthday. And I woke up and I was angry. And I had a conversation with God, and I said, God, why did you take my mom? And so just a quick story, I lost my mother to crack, or what most people would consider crack, my second semester in college.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I had been very angry for, over 15 years with him. And he said to me, whatever I take from you, just know that I'm going to bless you with something greater. And I said, okay, but that's my mom. What do you mean something greater? How can you bless me with anything greater than my biological mother? Right. And he clearly said to me, your mom was here. I brought your mother here to give you birth, and I'm going to send other people into your path to give you life and to enrich you. And I said, okay, I received it. Right. And this was a Sunday, and I was at a conference for work. And so I carried on to the conference at work, and it was a very strange Sunday. About 10 people said to me, oh my God, you're so beautiful, you're so amazing, you look awesome. And I was like, thank you. Maybe you see the light shining in me. And so I went home and I fell out in bed, honestly, because I didn't feel beautiful. I didn't feel amazing, as other people would say. But I thought about what my prayers were at the beginning of the year. And I had two prayers. And one was, God, show up so amazingly in my life that when others see me, they see you. Most importantly, when they see me, they seek you. And then my second prayer was, God, help me to become the best version of myself. So let me take you back to that day when I got home and I fell out on the bed. I said, God, I don't see myself this way. Please help me to see myself the way other people see me. Please help me to see myself the way you see me. And at an instant, he said it was very softly, but very firm, you are loved.
Okay.
And in that moment, for the very first time in my life, I received it. And he showed me a glimpse of my past and my childhood experiences of why I didn't feel loved. And so I don't know if you want me to share
Yes,
just
by all means, because
a little
acceptance
bit.
of unconditional love at that particular point and stage in your life, given the history and past that you had, that's
Right.
monumental.
Correct.
To be able to see it, feel it, and to accept it.
Correct.
So, because tell us about that conditional past.
And I did. You said it. I was able to accept it, and I was able to feel it. But then I took myself back to why I felt unloved. And so most people, when they see me, they think that you went to a great school, you come from a great background. One of my mentors, before I shared my story with her, she said, girl, I thought you had a silver spoon in your mouth your entire life. Well, it was never that way for me. In fact, by the age of 10, I had already experienced living in foster care. I had already experienced living out of a car, so I was homeless. And I recall my mother and my sister and I living out of a little rabbit hatchback car. It was white, and I recall eating a can of beans from the back seat of that vehicle. And then I remember when we transitioned from the car, we transitioned to a YMCA, which at that moment I didn't understand it, but now it was more than likely a shelter.
Right.
And so I experienced that. I had experienced at age 10 because I felt unloved or abandoned through foster care. I climbed on top of a 2-story building and decided at that moment that I had enough, and I jumped. And so, these little experiences that I had, in addition to my mother was in prison most of my life. So whereas some people, maybe they don't have their mom with you, and some people may experience their parent being on drugs. Some of them still experience them being in and out of their lives, or in their life, able to touch their parents. In fact, I remember being that child, putting my hand on the glass, wishing that I could hold my mom and that my mother could hold me. And so through all of those experiences, by the age of 10, I didn't feel loved. And they carried over into high school and while I was in college, because by that time I had, in high school, I again experienced another form of, I'll delicately say homelessness, but I slept on a neighbor's couch or a friend's couch through high school. I didn't sleep at home in a bed with family members. Many people call it couch surfing, surfing from couch to couch. It worked.
Right.
I had been raped in high school, and because I didn't live at home and I didn't have parents who were protective over me at that particular phase of my life, when I was raped in high school, I accepted it as norm because I had been molested as a kid. And so all these things. So it was
a sense of caring and feeling the belonging again. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so all of these things just impacted me, and they carried over into my adulthood. But at that moment where I was questioning if I was loved when God basically said, "You are loved." It was as if in that instant, my life changed. And I knew at that moment what he meant by "you're a queen." And I said, "Oh my goodness, I've been living my entire life not thinking about or not knowing how valuable I was as a woman, as a young girl."
And it affects everything, doesn't it?
And
It
it
affects
did.
relationships, it affects everything.
It did. It affected my relationships, how I communicate with people, how I love people, how I receive love, how many people would consider me to be mysterious before and maybe not warm, very loving, but just very mysterious, and they didn't understand. And so that was a little bit about my background. Now, when we get to the crown, this was it was just strange how it all happened. So this was in January. I accepted that I reigned. Had no clue that it was time for the crowning to take place. And so I met this woman in business, and I just shared with her my story. And I decided to come from behind the smile. So that was one of the things that I was able to hide behind growing up, was this beautiful smile that's helping me now in my pageant. And I did 7 days of transparency. And the 7 days of transparency really was just
So this is your really coming out period now.
It was my coming out period. I did the 7 days of transparency, and I shared my story. And at the end of the 7 days of transparency, this woman said, "You would be perfect as Miss Texas." And I said, "No."
No previous pageant experience, never been in a pageant before, none of
Just
that.
dabbled when I was in high school.
Okay.
And I said, "No, I don't think this is for me." And she said, "I think you should give it a shot." So she contacted the director.
Stop right there. I'm going to hold you. We're going to take a pause and break. When we come back, we're going to pick up where we left off with the great story of the pageant and then the crown and the crowning. And you'll see how it all flows together in the second part. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
In Texas, 1 in 4 children take care of themselves after school. In Houston, over half of our students are considered economically disadvantaged, and just as many are identified as at risk of dropping out. Gang membership has risen nearly 30%, and 63% of juvenile violence occurs in the after-school hours of 3 to 6 p.m. It's clear the need for after-school opportunities has never been greater. It's 4 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
If you have a passion for anything, whether it is running a law firm, a hospital, a college, manufacturing aircraft parts, or composing music, whatever it is, and you want to do that as your livelihood, you will have to know something about business. The Business Center of Excellence is made up of 8 major programs of study. Each of these programs provides you with the knowledge, skills, and abilities needed in the workplace. Come join us. We are open for business.
I'm only 17, but I know about investing. Believe in something, buy shares in it, watch it grow. So, what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. I could be one of the first college graduates from my family, the first philanthropist from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there's a second and a third. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Media and visuals and audio is how we communicate in this world today. Students need to understand how to create that content, how to discuss that content, and distribute it around the world.
The Center of Excellence for Media, Arts, and Technology comprises 4 different areas. We have audio production, filmmaking, music business, and our digital communications program. We're going to teach you the skills that you're going to need to go out and go to work in the workforce.
Welcome back to this week's segment of Dialogue Houston. If you were with us for the first part of the show, you know we just had a fascinating conversation. I mean, it just warms your heart. Lereca Monik is the Miss Texas America 2016. We're telling her story of her life up to this point of the pageant and the crown. That's where we're going to pick up where we left off. But it's been a great story because it's truly, truly triumph in the face of adversity. It is truly a positive, optimistic perspective of a human being who has gone through not only the middle passage, but has thrived and succeeded on the other side. It is always about the other side. All of the stories along life's journey, what may happen to us, they all reside in what we do with them going through it on the other side. And so it is a great story to hear. And I wanted our good friend Joy Lacy, who is the main principal of the wonderful consulting firm, Joy of Consulting. And Joy is going to sit with us for this part, and we're going to have Joy on another segment here in a while on her own right to talk about her consulting firm. But I wanted the Queen, and you'll see when we take the shot here in a moment, she does have the crown tiara on and the sash. I wanted the Queen to be joined by another Queen because it is all about this idea of women, and since we're talking about women, but it also applies to men as well, breaking through whatever has been that thing that's held one back. Breaking through to the other side. In this case, accepting and receiving unconditional love. Understanding how you have the power within yourself to change, to grow, to do all those things. And I'm just so happy and proud to have both of them sitting here with me on the set. Welcome back, our Queen.
Thank you.
And welcome back, Joy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Joy, you got to sit in and hear the first part in the studio. And before I get Lucretia to kind of pick up from the pageant to the crown and now her platform and message as Miss Texas America, how did all that strike you? And because you've gone through some of your own stuff, and
Right.
you now have developed into this wonderful entrepreneur and created your own business. What were the tenets that really struck you and kind of spoke to you?
I was just telling Lereca that, you know, I can relate to a lot of her story, and I think that a lot of young women and women in our age group can also relate to it because it's not easy. It's not easy, and especially when people are trying to bring you down, they will try to attack you on the inner core, but how you move forward is the biggest part of that. And so for me, I think my parents instilled in me a level of education that was, the expectation was so high, and I was always so hard on myself, and I was very critical growing up. But now that I'm older, I appreciate it, but it also kind of left me with this fear of failing. I always wanted to be perfect, and having that kind of perfectionist persona will hold you back from a lot of things, because failure does not mean that you are going to actually fail in whatever endeavors that you pursue.
Right.
And so I've thought of things as setbacks and not necessarily failure, but
As a setup for the future.
Exactly, and I figure out how to learn from those experiences instead of seeing them as, oh, I can't move forward. And so when Lereca was speaking, I just thought of the different things that have happened to me in my past and how I have excelled beyond that.
That's a great story within itself also, because it is about overcoming and seeing the big picture and keeping going forward. Before we took the break, we were right at the pageant. You are now, your mentor has talked to you about the pageant. You've agreed to be in the pageant, but that had to be, you know, pageants within themselves, I think, have their own life. Their own aura. So that must have been an interesting experience itself.
It was an interesting experience. And so on a state level, you actually interview for the job.
You interviewed for the job. Okay.
And so it was very intense. You submit a headshot, a resume, an application, and you meet with the directors for about an hour for a question and answer series. And based on a grading rubric, they determine who's going to be crowned Miss Texas. And so I interviewed for the job, and I waited about 2.5 weeks. At about 2 weeks, I got a little anxious waiting for the results.
Right.
And so After 2.5 weeks, I received a call from our director of the Ms. America pageant system, and she said, Lereca, we would like you to represent the state of Texas.
Okay.
And so it was really exciting, something very new. But I went back to You Reign
Right.
at the beginning
There
of
you
the
go,
year,
yes.
and I understood what that meant. It meant that we were born for greatness.
So all those young ladies who are watching, and I have a friend who used to put on pageants, starting with the little ones all the way up through the adults. And it's quite a process. There's a lot that goes into it. The actual pageant, was there actual pageant contests, competition, the normal way we think about pageants?
September 3rd.
Okay.
And so on September 3rd, I will be competing with 48
go.
other
That's what we were
women
looking for.
at the
Okay.
pageant contest.
Okay.
And we will be graded on our interview, our fitness, as well as our gown, and our onstage questions.
Right, and
So
this will be held where?
in Brea, California.
Okay, so all of
Yes.
those people who want to follow our own Miss Texas, you know where you need to be. Brea, California on the 11th
Yes.
of September. But prior to that, we're having an event here in Houston, actually on August 11th,
Yes.
where people will get to see you, meet you, sign autographs, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
And tell us about that event, because it has dual purposes for doing it.
Yes, so on August 11th, which is a Thursday from 7 to 9, there will be an opportunity to celebrate with Miss Texas. And my goal with that event is to share about my path to the crown, as well as how I plan to use this platform to speak life into other women and children moving forward.
And so that event, like I said, has many purposes, but it really is a chance for everybody to get to meet and know and talk and develop those kind of relationships. And I think part of the journey and the story and the platform that will come after September 11th, when you win, because we know you're going to win, gives you an opportunity not only to tell your personal story and the journey, but also because you are a motivational speaker and among other things, it gives you a chance to lay out what that really looks like step by step.
Yes, it does. And I have worked on it as we speak. And so this is what I feel like You Reign means. I know that all of us will experience some form of transition, whether it's being very critical on ourselves, whether it's health issues, whether it's job loss, whether it's the loss of a loved one. But I want everyone to remember that they reign and that they were born for greatness. And so reign means, one, remember who you are, because sometimes you'll lose yourself. E means embrace your uniqueness. I means invest in yourself, mind, body, and spirit, all of you. And G means give of your gift. It's the giving of your gift.
Right.
That's where the beauty really is. And then N is next on your journey. And so even at the event, people will go through a series of, I'll say a journey in
Okay.
reminding them that they reign too. And then for me, it's just, you were born for greatness, share your story, now go be great.
Okay, so on the 11th, you will walk us through the rain thing again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think it's an important message.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting that the messages and the layers of the messages as they're interconnected, interrelated, your message on the way you've presented it, and actually you've also, as a consultant, you do fund development and all that stuff. Joy in her business and the consulting that she does, organizational design, strategic planning, all those things in management and leadership, the two actually go together.
Yes.
Yes.
It's like the other side of the coin. But the beautiful thing for me, there's a thread that runs through it. You know, I always love the thread that runs through it. The positive, optimistic perspective of realizing that things happen. Right. That's part of, you live long enough, things happen. It's not what things happen to you, how you take it, how you deal with it, how you move on. And I think that's the piece that has to be really kept in front of people, because so many people, and I'm dealing with people now with the downturn in the oil and gas industry, has been looking for jobs for now a year, 12 months, 18 months. Right. And trying to keep them, giving them hope, letting them understand perhaps maybe you need to go retool, get new skill sets, go take some new courses, change the perspective and the trajectory that you thought was going to be your life into things that are over here, that are open for you and available. But you got to be willing to make that change and shift, and that's hard for many people.
Right.
Is it not? You deal with it every day in your
It's
consulting.
difficult. I mean, I deal with entrepreneurs, I deal with people wanting to start nonprofits, and it's definitely a challenge because as I spoke about that fear factor,
Right.
people do not want to take that leap, nor do they want to pay to do things right.
And
You
everybody
have
who
do
wants
that.
to be an entrepreneur or wants to, quote unquote, start another nonprofit, Lord knows we have enough nonprofits, may not be your calling.
Right.
But as you were saying, if you don't stop to listen to that voice inside of you
Right.
that gives you that direction, that perspective, that hope,
Right.
then if you follow your own path about what you want to do, which may not be what God wants you to do,
Right.
you seem to go down a path where you constantly are frustrated.
Right.
And that frustration level is what I see so high right now. And anxiety and all that goes with that. Part of it's fear-based, but part of it, you produce your own anxiety and your own frustration.
Right.
You were talking about that with me the other day.
Absolutely. For myself, is what I found is that as soon as I just decided to get still and listen and understand that maybe there was something else out there for me during this moment of transition, and I said, okay, I am just going to surrender to the process. I'll sit back and allow myself to be a part of this journey, but not just sit without working. So I
Right.
did
There you
take
go.
steps to working on
We gotta do our
myself,
part.
steps
We have to do our
to
piece.
absolutely working on ourselves is important and doing our part. And I just wanted to really touch on what Joy was sharing about failure. I like to say it's kind of failing forward or falling forward because you're still moving one step closer to wherever you're destined to be, and it's okay.
Right.
It's
All right,
okay.
one more time, the wonderful event, tell us the details, August 11th. Going to
It's-
get that in before we got to go.
It's August 11th at Hotel Icon, which is downtown Houston, from 7 to 9.
All right. And you can call 281-783-9913 for additional information on the August 11th date. The competition and the pageant is in California on September 11th, so we want to keep both of those 11 dates in front of you. I want to thank Lucretia Monk for being with us, our new Miss Texas America in 2016.
Thank you.
She's going to win on September 11th, so we don't have to worry about that. And Joy, Lacy, who is with the Joy of Consulting firm, and we're going to talk with Joy a little bit more here going forward. I want to thank you both for being on this segment of Dialogue Houston. We look forward to following both of your work and your endeavors as we go forward. So here's my closing comment. I got to get out of here. It really is about what you do with what you have, what you understand is your calling, mission, and purpose, being still enough to listen to the voice that helps you identify what that calling, mission, and purpose is, being true to that heart, being loved, understanding how to give and receive unconditional love as we go forward in this life, because it's really about what you do and how you react to what happens to you. We got to go. Till next week, as always, peace, power, and love.